with us straight, we straight, we straight. You look into my eyes, you can see what I see. If you can say the world won't be the same without me, then we call that great, we straight. And that's a blessing. But wait a second, look, while we on the subject, let me ask a question.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Uzi Sports Show. Jared Valluzzi here, and today we'll be breaking down the top 10 moments of the New York Catholic High School Football League from the last 5 years. And we'll start off with some honorable mentions here as a classic AA versus AAA matchup in 2018 between Kellenberg and Chaminade. Of course, it's a big rivalry, but Kellenberg really known as Chaminade's little brother when it comes to a lot of sports. So, of course, in 2018, the Firebirds had their best team in a very long time. Chaminade was still a pretty good AAA team, but it was really Kellenberg's chance to stun the Flyers. And the Firebirds, they went to Gold Star Stadium, and they did exactly that. Matt Saluka, Jordan DeLucia for the Firebirds. They really put on a show, and they went to Chaminade and beat them 42-14. I know that's got to be one of the top moments in Kellenberg football history, beating a AAA Chaminade team on the road. Felt really good for the Firebirds, definitely something amazing to watch. And two other real good honorable mentions. We look at the 2016 AAA championship game, and Stepinac versus Cardinal Hayes, two really good teams. Cardinal Hayes, they're up 35-33 with a couple minutes left in the game. Shameen Jones, who's at Rutgers right now, scores a big touchdown for Cardinal Hayes, but they cannot get the extra point to go. So Cardinal Hayes is only up by 8 in this game. The missed kick, of course, special teams, so important in high school football. That missed kick gives Stepinac an opportunity to drive down the field. They do score a touchdown with just seconds, it seemed like, pretty much on the clock. And they needed a 2-point conversion to tie the game. Cardinal Hayes, they let Stepinac get that chance, but Sofian Massoud, who was just a freshman at the time, made the conversion unsuccessful. Cardinal Hayes won a barn burner. Definitely something to remember if you're a Cardinal Hayes fan. Their first AAA championship, I believe. And the last honorable mention, just a moment from a year ago that seemed pretty damn special. It was Frankie McFadden's truck stick against Cardinal Hayes. I believe it was one of the last games of the season, and McFadden, one of the top power backs in this league. He wasn't my top 10 list, actually, going into this upcoming season, but just a hell of a run. It really represented Iona Prep's dominant regular season a year ago. It was their first undefeated regular season within those 5 years and a very long time in the AAA. Now we get to the top 10 moments. We'll start off at number 10, and going into last season, Christ the King, of course, they've had a lot of talent. They've only been in the AAA for the past 3 years, but a lot of talent on their roster, but there was doubt if they could actually win football games. They have a lot of guys with a lot of college offers, but the results never really showed up on the scoreboard. It seemed like the chemistry wasn't there, and they got a couple good wins to start off the year. They beat Farrell, they beat a shorthanded St. Anthony's team, but on October 5th, going into that game against Cardinal Hayes on homecoming, this was the game that Christ the King really needed to show that their program was legit. All those doubters. And going into that game, when the top broadcasters out there, Mike Quick said, Cardinal Hayes, they're one of the top programs, they're going to show Christ the King who they are, they're going to win 35-7. A lot of people didn't think Christ the King was for real, but Coach Eugene and the boys out there in Middle Village showed what was up. Christ the King won that game 39-22. It was just pretty electric over there. It was their homecoming. It was a blackout, and Christ the King really showed up to play. The defense played phenomenal with some really hard hits. Noah Bodden showed he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and Coach Eugene had something to say at the end of that one.
Yo, Mike Quick, I told you get your popcorn ready. Yo, hey, Mike Quick, we gonna eat good. We gonna eat good because you say 35 points? You gotta be kidding me.
Man, that was really entertaining there. Christ the King was a big win over Cardinal Hayes, and it really showed that they have established their program and come a long way. Definitely something really special to see. Now we look at number 9, we go back to 2016. It was St. Anthony's against Stepinac, and Stepinac, they're the most dominant program throughout these 5 years, hands down. And going into that game in South Huntington back in 2016, Stepinac won 28 of 29 games. And St. Anthony's was shorthanded. Greg Campese was just making his second career start, completely unproven. Their top linebacker, Charles Barcella, was out for that game. Stepinac was shredding opponents throughout the AAA that season. They were 4-0 going into it. And there was just a lot of doubt going on the St. Anthony side. It looked like every sign pointed to Stepinac to win that game, but Greg Campese's coming out party. Andrew Hancock had a hell of a game, and St. Anthony stunned Stepinac. It was pretty unbelievable. The Stepinac fans couldn't believe it, and the Friars pulled off the upset. Definitely a memorable game. Now we look at number 8. We'll go to Stepanak's field this time, also in 2016. They hosted Monsignor Farrell. And as I said before earlier in this video, special teams a very, very big thing when it comes to this league. And Monsignor Farrell had one of the best kickers in Paul Inzerillo. So they go to Stepanak, and it was a very close game. Rocco Maragli made some phenomenal plays for Monsignor Farrell, but Paul Inzerillo nails a 52-yard field goal to give Farrell some insurance to go up 20-13. Stepanak comes down the field, ties it up at 20, and then Monsignor Farrell drives all the way back down the field, and Inzerillo, I believe it was a 38-yarder, to just ice the game for Farrell. They win 23-20, stunning the defending champs. Definitely one of the biggest wins in Farrell program history, especially in the last 5 years. And we'll also go to number 7. This one also happens to be against Stepanak, but just one of the most special moments I've ever seen. Chaminade, they were really struggling this year. They go into Stepanak, I believe on a Friday or Saturday night. It was a night game, it was loud there in White Plains. Chaminade goes in with a backup quarterback. It's actually their punter at quarterback. It's Anthony Pecorello. And Chaminade goes into White Plains. Their defense shut down Joey Carino, Sean Harris, this explosive offensive Stepanak. They hold them to 7 points, which was just sensational. And Anthony Pecorello throws a long touchdown pass to Connor McCormick. Pecorello also punts the ball so well to place Stepanak in terrible field position. He also hit a couple field goals. And in the end, Chaminade 13, Stepanak 7. It was one of the biggest upsets I've seen within these last 5 years, and one of the biggest wins in recent history for the Chaminade Flyers. Now, the last 3 moments have been against Archbishop Stepanak. This time, we're going to say something good about the Crusaders. It was their 2015 team, which was the best team out of the last 5 years. The only team to go undefeated out of the last 5 seasons. Of course, this league is so talented. It's just so hard to win every game. Stepanak, they went 12-0 to win a state championship. But the moment I really want to just eye in on was the state championship game. Tykel Fields, he's a quarterback at Stony Brook right now, threw 4 touchdowns. Apparently he was a little bit injured that game too. Also another guy at Stony Brook was TJ Morrison. He caught all 4 of those touchdowns for over 200 yards receiving. And it was the first state championship brought down to the New York Catholic High School Football League. And Stepanak, really just a special season at 12-0, but Fields and Morrison really highlighted it. Now we look at the 5th moment on my list, and it was when St. Anthony's traveled to Staten Island on a Friday night. St. Anthony's versus Monsignor Farrell. Now let's remember, this was 2016, so these 2 teams were battling for the number 1 seed of the AAA going into the playoffs. And let's just take a look into this game. Monsignor Farrell, they go up early, 13-0 after 1, 16-0 after halftime. But now, things get really interesting. Monsignor Farrell up 23-0 with 4 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. And I'm here like, okay, this game is over. Farrell up by 23. The defense has been locked down pretty much this entire game. Now, just a couple minutes left in this 3rd quarter, sophomore Greg Campese drops back, finds Huron Marceau O'Neal for a 26-yard touchdown pass. Okay, hold on. 23-7. Now, all of a sudden, a turnover happens, and Sean Bryan, 14-yard touchdown on the ground. This is also with just under a minute left in the 3rd quarter. 2-point conversion, no good. But all of a sudden, the Friars have life here. They were just down 23-0 with a couple minutes left in the 4th quarter. 2 quick touchdowns. It's a 23-14 game. Now, we go into the 4th quarter of play. Tyler Palmentary, a 1-yard touchdown. And you look at this game right here, St. Anthony's all of a sudden comes back. It's a 23-21 game. And Monsignor Farrell, of course, butterflies in their stomachs. The Friars get the ball again, and Greg Campese finds Huron Marceau O'Neal. And St. Anthony's takes the lead. Sean Bryan on the 2-point conversion, and all of a sudden the Friars up 29-23. They complete the comeback. They go into Staten Island, and they come away with the victory. Truly the greatest comeback I've seen in these last 5 years. Now, the number 4 moment on my list is the Stepanak Iona Prep Series, just as a whole the last 5 seasons. If I were to point out specific games or a specific place, I can make an entire list just out of that, but we'll just look at the series as a whole. You look at 2016, Trill Williams really made his mark, scoring, I believe, 4 or 5 touchdowns to beat the Gales then. But 2017, one of the best games I've ever seen. Derek Robertson really put down his mark. He threw a bunch of touchdown passes. Iona Prep escaped 38-34. Trill Williams, of course, had one of the best goal line strips that anyone has really ever seen. But Iona Prep, they came out on top with that one. 2018, they played twice. Iona Prep took the regular season, and Stepanak took the postseason. Of course, this last time that they met was the 2019 year, and it was at Stepanak. It was a back-and-forth game. Stepanak, they had more experience than Iona Prep, but Coach Joe Spagnola decides, hey, I'm going for two, and Alex Williams. Iona Prep wins 36-35. Real emotional game, and Iona came out with the victory. The whole series as a whole, really something special, and really highlighted the last 5 seasons. Now you look at the number 3 moment on my list, and we go back all the way to 2015. It was Cardinal Hayes against St. Anthony's in the AAA semifinals, but let's take a look at some history behind that game. Cardinal Hayes, they did have a player pass away, unfortunately, just a week before the playoffs. They got a big quarterfinal win, but Cardinal Hayes, they'd never been to a AAA championship before this. They were just starting to get good at this time. Let's remember this. So this semifinal game really meant a lot to them. They could get to their first AAA final ever. They were going against St. Anthony's, and Cardinal Hayes, they were the 2 seed, but it just felt like they were the underdog going into this game. The Friars, they have more experience. Of course, Coach Rich Reichert has been to countless amount of championships, and it felt like Cardinal Hayes was the underdog, but Justin Covington, his performance, he just straight up balled. It was a really special moment for Cardinal Hayes, and really just, if you think about the most memorable moment in their football program history, winning for a player who just recently passed away and getting to their first AAA final. Now it goes to the number 2 moment on my list, and we'll go back to South Huntington. It was back in 2018. It was the last home game of the regular season. It was Coach Reichert's last home game of the regular season, and it seemed like so many players who played for Coach Reichert, they all returned for this game. So many alumni, they were all in the hallway of the locker room, and they were all out on the field. It was one of the toughest environments I've ever seen a team have to come in and play, which was Iona Prep, who was a very good team at the time. And the winner of this game was going to be ranked number 1 in the state. These were the 2 top teams in the state at the time. And the game lived up to the hype. Derek Robertson, the senior quarterback, really just played phenomenal. Frankie McFadden, who was a sophomore at the time, also played really well. But the game just showed the greatness of Coach Reichert, but also of quarterback Greg Campese. He had a couple rushing touchdowns. Mekhi Murphy, he played both sides of the ball back then. He was just extremely talented. He made a couple big-time plays. And Sandys, they came out with a win over Iona Prep, and it really just solidified Coach Reichert's greatness and Greg Campese's greatness. Really just represented both of that. Now we go to the number 1 moment on my list. And this, some people might say it's not an actual moment just because if I made just specific plays or moments of this player, I'll be here all day. It's Trill Williams of Archbishop Stepanak. And it's just going to be his senior year run as a whole. Not sure where to start, but I'll start at the Iona Prep game. He had a rushing touchdown, which really changed the game, but his goal line strip of Keyshawn Shipman really shifted momentum. Of course, Stepanak did not go on to win that game, but it really just showed how good of a player Williams was. But then you go to the semifinals, game-winning tackle against Cardinal Hayes, but the league final was really where everyone was like, this kid is going places. Against St. Anthony's. I'm convinced St. Anthony's would have won the AAA championship if Trill Williams was not on the field that day. 4 touchdowns in 4 different ways. He ran in one for a touchdown, he also caught one for a touchdown, ran back a punt, and also had a pick 6. It was just unbelievable. It was like a man amongst boys. His final game was ridiculous. Stepanak won that game 47-22, but it was really just the Trill Williams show. And he wasn't done yet. He was not done yet. We go to the state final, going against a very good Canisius team. And he also just balled out. He had a SportsCenter top 10 catch falling on his back, still able to track the ball. That one went crazy viral. Of course, he did his thing shutting down receivers, and he also contributed on the offense, rushing, receiving, did pretty much everything. He's the best player I've seen in the last 5 years, hands down, and that was my number 1 moment on my list. Everybody, I'm Jared Valluzzi. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.